Hello everyone and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7 Custom Project Set 2. We're here today with the second car of the set, the Castrol Mugen NSX. This is a returning car from the past of Gran Turismo, specifically first appearing in Gran Turismo 2, that is based on a real car of the same name. The real car was driven in the 1998 season of the JGTC and achieved a 4th place finish overall. For this build, I've used the car in Gran Turismo 2 as my basis, using the numbers and specs from that game as far as possible, and approximating the rest until I ended up with what we have here. As usual, delivery on this car was created by another player in the community, and I have left a link to it in the description for you all to add to your own libraries and use for yourselves. Be sure to send the creator of this livery some support from this video, and without further ado, we will first head to GT Auto before fitting any custom parts. So you'll want to head to Car Maintenance and Services, and for this build, you will need to perform the engine swap on this car. This means you will need to be collector level 50 to unlock the ability to purchase it here, or be lucky enough to win it from a roulette spin. You'll want to engine swap the car before fitting any parts in the tuning shop, because when you fit the new engine, all existing engine upgrades will be lost, meaning you would have to buy them again, so make sure to buy the engine swap before you add any other custom parts. But once you have fitted your new engine, you will want to go back to the tuning shop and we can fit the other parts to this car. So, now that we're in the tuning shop, we won't actually need to fit that many parts, partially because we've got the engine swap put in, but also because this car is based on the 2002 NSX, whereas the original real-life car is based on the 1998 NSX. So a lot of the modifications that you would have had to do to that car to get to this level, you don't have to do on this car. Also, this is the Type R version, and it has more performance by standard. So what we will need is weight reduction stage 1. It comes with sports hards by default, but you won't need to keep those. In the club sports section, you'll want the ballast. In semi-racing, you'll want the fully customizable computer, and you'll want the fully customizable LSD. In the racing section, you will want the racing silencer. You will want your racing brake pads. You'll want fully customizable suspension, racing clutch and flywheel, and the fully customizable racing transmission, and also racing hard tires. You could swap these out for softs or mediums if you prefer. I just prefer to use hards because they have more durability, but it's entirely up to you. In the extreme section, I have the carbon ceramic brake kit fitted. You can use the standard brake discs if you want. I just prefer the look of the carbon discs. And intermediate tires, only if you plan on taking this car to the Le Mans Money Grind event, which incidentally, this is a good car to use in that event, but if you don't plan on using it at that event, you won't need these tires. And in the ultimate section, you won't need anything either. So, now that we have all these parts bought, we can head back to the garage to do our tuning to the car. So let's head into the settings sheet, and just before we get into the tuning, there are a few differences between my build and the real car to note here. First, the real car is listed at 608 horsepower, but my build only has 603. This was as close as I could get without putting a turbocharger on and massively limiting it. And secondly, the car has a body height of 85mm on the front and rear. I can only go down to 90 on this build, probably because this is a road car in its base form, not a race car, so there are certain limitations there. So let's get into the tuning. For our tyres, we have racing hards equipped. For the suspension, like I said, it is 90mm for body height front and rear. This is as low as I can get it, so it's as close as we can get it to the actual car. For anti-roll, I have 5 front and rear. For the compression on the dampers, it is 30 front and rear with 40 front and rear for the expansion. For natural frequency, I have 3.10 on the front and 3.40 on the rear. For negative camber angle, I have 2.0 on the front and 1.0 on the rear. And for the toe angle, there is none applied on the front or the rear. For our differential, I have 10 for initial torque, 40 for acceleration sensitivity, and 30 for braking sensitivity. These are all on the rear because we cannot adjust the front values because this is a rear-wheel drive car, not front-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. For our downforce, I have 140 on the front and 240 on the rear. For the ECU, it is fully customizable, set to 100. For our ballast, I have 157 kilos applied, and I put that all the way to the front to get a nice 50-50 weight distribution, and this brings us up to 1,180 kilos, which is the real world weight of the car. For the power restrictor, that is not touched. For the transmission, it is manually adjusted to the values you see on screen here. Like always, the best way to set these values accurately is to start with the 6th gear and work your way up until the first number matches what I have here. Once all your first numbers before the slash line up with what I have, then you adjust the final gear, and if you set it to the number I have here, your second numbers after the slash will line up with what I have got here. These gear ratios are taken directly from Gran Turismo 2, and through experimenting, not all of these work translating them over from the older game into this game, but for this car, I think it works quite well. So you can give it a try, and if you don't like it, you can adjust it to how you see fit. So for the rest of the parts, the anti-lag system, we didn't have to buy it. It comes standard with the engine swap car. So that is set to strong on my build. Our turbocharger, we have none fitted. For the silencer, the racing one is equipped and cannot be unequipped. For our brake system, we got the carbon discs, we got the racing brake pads. None of these have been adjusted. And the steering angle kit is not fitted, and our clutch and flywheel is fitted, and we have our weight reduction stage 1 installed. So that's it for all our custom parts. That's it for the tuning settings. So all it's left to do now is take this car out to the track and see what it can do in practice. Now, of all the cars in this set, this one surprised me the most. Typically, engine swapped cars can have their issues, especially with handling, and of course the fact this car shares a lot of its settings with Gran Turismo 2, and the fact that the car from Gran Turismo 2 isn't exactly known for handling incredibly well. I expected this car to be terrible initially before I first tested it, but it's actually truly surprised me as to how good it actually is. This car controls very well, unlike its counterpart in Gran Turismo 2, and it feels like a very competitive race car, which doesn't always happen when you try to make a race car out of a road car. They can tend to feel a bit lackluster, a bit worse than actual real race cars, which makes sense, but you know. It is actually a really good option for the Le Mans Money Grind event, so it can pay for itself in no time and actually be useful. Of course, it's always nice when one of these builds is actually useful for money grinding in career mode. It's a really good bonus when one of these cars is more than just fun to drive, and it can also be useful. So, that's going to be it for this video, but let me know what you think of this car. I'm really interested to know what people think of this car, because I have taken the numbers from Gran Turismo 2, which is over 20 years old at this point, and put them into a car in Gran Turismo 7. So, it's a bit unusual, I would say, and you wouldn't always expect it to line up perfectly, and I have tested some where it's definitely not worked out very well, but in this case, I think it really has. So I'm really interested to hear feedback on this and see if other people have the same experience. So there are, like I said, there are other cars in this series, and others I have lined up for future sets, where taking the settings of Gran Turismo 2 does not work out anywhere near as well as this does. But anyway, thank you all for watching, stay tuned in the coming days for the remaining cars in the set, and have a great day.